The last time we smiled together under sunset, transport ship hummed through the violet clouds of Kepler 442. As Emma Clark pressed her palm against the cold viewing window and watched three suns dip below jagged mountain peaks that stretched toward a lavender sky where no human had walked before today. And she wondered if her daughter back on Earth would even remember her face after 5 years of deep space assignment, because video calls across light years arrived with months of delay, and children grew so fast at age 7. She turned from the window when Captain Brooks announced final descent, and 20 other colonists strapped into their seats, and Emma found herself sitting beside a woman whose skin shimmered with scales that caught light like opals and whose eyes held galaxies within their depths. And the alien female smiled, showing teeth too sharp for comfort. Yet somehow the expression carried warmth that transcended species. The alien woman spoke through a translator device clipped to her collar, and the words came out smooth like honey. I am Lyra of the Valorian Empire, and I have been assigned as cultural liaison to your settlement because my people have studied humans for 3 generations, and I requested this posting specifically. And Emma felt her eyebrows rise in surprise because most aliens avoided direct human contact due to what the galaxy called our aggressive unpredictability. Emma introduced herself and asked why Lyra volunteered for such duty, and the Valorian female tilted her head in a gesture that seemed both human and utterly foreign before responding that she had watched Earth transmissions for years and became fascinated by human resilience and emotional depth, and how humans love with such fierce intensity that it bordered on beautiful madness. And Emma laughed, because she never thought aliens might find humanity interesting rather than dangerous. The ship landed with a gentle thud on red soil that puffed into clouds around the landing struts, and the colonists filed out into air that tasted of copper and ozone. And Emma stepped onto alien ground for the first time while Lyra walked beside her, pointing out native plants that glowed bioluminescent blue when shadows touched them, and explaining that this world had been uninhabited for millennia, since the Valorians moved to orbital cities, but they maintained it as a nature preserve, until humans needed a new home after Earth became too crowded. Days blurred into weeks as Emma worked construction on the main habitat dome, and Lyra proved invaluable translating not just language but cultural concepts. That prevented a dozen potential conflicts between human workers and Valorian overseers, who thought differently about time management and safety protocols. And Emma found herself taking lunch breaks with Lyra, discussing everything from raising children to the meaning of death, because the Valorians lived 300 years and viewed mortality through a different lens than humans who burned bright and fast. One afternoon, while Emma welded support beams in the recreation sector, Lyra climbed the scaffolding to sit beside her and asked what humans did for joy, and Emma removed her welding mask and thought about movie nights with her daughter and Christmas mornings and first kisses, and told Lyra that humans collected moments of happiness like precious gems to sustain them through darkness, and Lyra grew quiet before admitting that Valorians lived so long that individual moments blurred together into a monotonous stream, and they envied how humans savored each experience as though it might be the last. The colony grew stable over months, and Emma became head of engineering, while Lyra transitioned from liaison to permanent resident, because she claimed Earth culture had infected her with longing for something her own people had lost, and Emma understood that feeling because she had come to this world searching for purpose. After her divorce left her hollow, and colonizing a new planet seemed easier than fixing a broken marriage, they developed a routine of evening walks through the growing settlement as both suns set, and the third remained a pale ghost on the horizon. And Lyra taught Emma to identify Valorian constellations, while Emma pointed out where Earth would be if they could see that far, and they talked about love and loss and whether souls existed, and if they did, whether they transcended biology. Emma mentioned her daughter Katie during one of these walks and how much she missed bedtime stories and teaching her to ride a bicycle, and Lyra listened with those galaxy eyes, focused entirely on Emma, and asked if human parents felt physical pain from separation, and Emma said yes, it ached like missing a limb. And Lyra reached out with a scaled hand and touched Emma's shoulder and said she understood now why humans were considered dangerous because anything that loved that intensely would fight that fiercely. Months passed, and a Valorian festival arrived, and Lyra invited Emma to attend. And Emma wore her nicest jumpsuit, which made Lyra laugh and insist on wrapping Emma in traditional Valorian silk that shifted colors with movement, and they attended. Together, and Emma felt out of place among aliens who towered over her, but Lyra never left her side, and introduced Emma to her family, who regarded the human with curiosity rather than hostility. Lyra's mother asked Emma pointed questions about human reproduction and pair bonding, and Emma answered honestly that humans often chose poorly and loved desperately and made mistakes they spent lifetimes regretting, and Lyra's mother said that sounded exhausting, but also thrilling, and Emma agreed it was both, and Lyra watched this exchange with an expression Emma couldn't read. The festival involved dancing that looked nothing like human movement, but Emma tried anyway, and Lyra guided her through the steps with hands that lingered perhaps longer than necessary, and the contact sent warmth through Emma's skin that had nothing to do with the planet's climate and everything to do with the realization that she had not felt this way since before her marriage crumbled. Walking back to the colony that night under 3 moons, Lyra asked if humans believed in destiny, and Emma said some did, but she personally thought people made choices that created their own fate. And Lyra nodded and said Valorians believed the universe sent signs to those willing to see them, and Emma asked what kind of signs. And Lyra stopped walking and turned to face Emma fully, and said like being assigned to a human colony when she could have refused the posting. Emma's heart hammered in her chest because she suddenly understood what Lyra meant, and the implications terrified and thrilled her in equal measure. And she asked if Valorians felt romantic attraction to other species, and Lyra smiled that sharp-toothed smile and replied that her people felt many things but rarely acted on cross-species attraction because the complications seemed insurmountable, and Emma asked what complications. And Lyra listed them like inventory, counting vastly different lifespans and incompatible biology and the scandal it would cause in both communities. Emma considered this information while they resumed walking, and then said that humans specialized in attempting the impossible, and Lyra laughed and said she had noticed this tendency. And Emma gathered her courage and asked if Lyra wanted to attempt something impossible together, and Lyra stopped walking again and looked at Emma with those endless eyes and said she had wanted that since the transport ship first landed. They kissed under alien stars, and it felt awkward and strange because their mouths were shaped differently but also right in a way Emma couldn't explain. And Lyra's scales felt cool against Emma's skin, and they held each other while 3 moons painted everything silver. The relationship caused exactly the scandal Lyra predicted, and colony officials questioned Emma about propriety, and Valorian authorities contacted Lyra about maintaining professional boundaries, but neither cared because they had found something rare that transcended biology and cultural differences, and Emma finally understood that home was not a planet, but a person who made you want to be better. Emma received a video message from Katie 6 months later, and her daughter had grown taller and lost a front tooth, and she asked when Mommy was coming home, and Emma felt that familiar ache, but also knew she had built something important on this world, both in terms of the colony and her relationship with Lyra. And she recorded a response explaining that sometimes adults had to make hard choices, and she hoped Katie would understand someday. Lyra found Emma crying after sending the message and held her without speaking, because some pain required presence rather than words, and Emma clung to her alien lover and let herself feel everything, and Lyra whispered that she would help Emma arrange visits to Earth because Valorian ships traveled faster than human vessels, and Katie could come stay during school breaks. Years flowed forward, and the colony flourished into a proper city, and Emma and Lyra moved into a home they built together, mixing human and Valorian architecture. And Katie visited 3 times, growing from child to teenager to young woman, and she accepted Lyra with the easy flexibility of youth and called her mom's girlfriend without judgment. Emma knew her time was limited compared to Lyra's centuries, and they discussed it during quiet moments, and Emma made Lyra promise not to isolate herself after Emma died, and Lyra agreed. but said she would carry Emma's memory as humans carried moments and savor it until her own end came. They sat on their porch one evening watching both suns set while the third hovered eternal. And Lyra asked if Emma regretted leaving Earth, and Emma said no because she had found purpose and love, and that was more than most humans achieved, and Lyra said humans were remarkable creatures, and